Mover and seconder for the approval of the sanitary board minutes from November 14th.
I move to be approved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry. Yes.
Carried. Next, we have the sanitary board MS4 petitions, communications, and public hearing. Is there anybody here that would like to come forward and speak? All right. Next, we have the updates, if you wouldn't mind coming forward on the Milford Street area upgrades, Arlington Sewer, and the 2 phases of those projects. That would be lovely. Thank you.
Of course. I'll take the first one. I think Dan's going to do the rest of them. But on the Milford Street improvements project, the contractor is nearing completion. They'll be out there tomorrow to find 2 more sewer laterals and tie them in near the apartment building that's beside the church. And then on the other portion of work, they've got all the pipe installed for the most part. They just have to come back, set one structure, and do a few tie-ins. But I expect they'll be complete this month, and they are anticipating having their paving completed this month as well.
How will we paying for this? Just from my memory. How are we paying for this project?
It's local ARPA. I think it's city ARPA.
ARPA. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
And the, thank you.
All right, so on the Arlington one, just kind of getting started on that, we actually have a call December 20th with the Army Corps as kind of a kickoff to roles and responsibilities and stuff like that. I think, Kim, you've been invited to that as well. Mostly how they want the documents to go together as we get started on that. It's cumbersome is the way I'll describe it and stuff. So that one's just getting started. On the phase 5, we're in design. The facility plan's been approved through DEP. We're doing our field investigation. It's ongoing. We were supposed to start our video work this week, but when our manager had a family medical emergency, and looks like we'll start hopefully next Monday on that. We've got the aerial completed, and we're designing that. That's one we're going to try to tie and do the water through the water board and put them into one contract, so we're tearing it up at one time so we're not putting in water and then coming back and putting in deep sewer, trying to combine them. It's 2 funding sources and stuff. So that's a little bit cumbersome, but that's how we're trying to do that. So, and then phase 5B, we actually at 2:00 today finally got comments back on the facility plan from DEP. Again, we've had the aerial mapping completed on that. We're in design. Anthony's starting to get all the information wrapped up because we have a railroad crossing through CSX and gathering up all that information. So design is proceeding on those and working very hard to meet a schedule that we have promised and stuff. And we saw the new paving limits, I guess, in the paper Friday. So much for stopping at Notre Dame.
Right.
And I'll address a little bit of the extra video work when we're talking about the engineering amendment here. So.
Thank you. Next, we have the consideration of sewer adjustment for the town of Anmore in the amount of $1,652.67.
Madam Chairman, and I'll make a motion that we approve the sewer adjustment for the town of Anmore that Kim has prepared in the amount of $1,652.67.
Okay.
Seeing John Workman has recommended that the adjustment be made. I'm guessing nothing went into the sewer system. So I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Next, we have the consideration of Milford Street contractor pay applications.
I'll take those 2. I have 2 applications from Pro Contracting to present. The first one is for the October to November pay period. Meant to have that on the agenda for the last meeting, but forgot to have it put on the update. This is pay application number 1 from Pro Contracting for the Milford Street project. The total is $135,200.07. It's It's 135-200-07. And for the pay period from November to December, pay application number 2, the contractor is requesting $325,275.03. It's 325-275.03.
You all have recommended payment for both of these?
Yes, and these both come out of the ARPA funds.
So can we go ahead and do them in one motion?
I think they can be both approved in one motion.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve for the Milford Street project, two pay requests by Pro Contracting, number 1, in the amount of $135,200.07, and pay app number 2 in the amount of $325,275.03.
I'll second.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Next, we have the consideration of the engineering amendment for the Phase 5 sewer camera work.
I think the next thing is the
Oh, sorry.
Thrasher invoice.
Sorry, consideration of the Milford Street Thrasher invoice.
We have an invoice for $16,500 for engineering during construction stakeout, and the RPR work that we've done to date on the projects within the budget. So,
Thank you.
What was that amount again?
$16,500.
I move that we approve the invoice to Thrasher for the Milford Street project, $16,500.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Carried. Now we have the consideration of the engineering amendment for the Phase 5 sewer camera work.
Yeah, this is amendment number 1 for increasing. We had $15,000 in the contract originally. We suggest that we move it up to $75,000 and do it on an hourly basis on what we are planning. Tom and I have kind of talked it over. We're going to see if I can actually, what we'd like to do is get it approved contingent on Tom and I working out the language. Instead of Thrasher doing all this, we may want to try to sub it to another company, Snyder Environmental, who does a lot of the lining. They actually have a camera that can look up at the laterals a little better. It might give us a better idea of what's going on in some of these areas where we're not digging and replacing. This is the idea to try to see if we have anything major going on that needs to be lined or spot repaired before the paving gets done. We're concerned a little bit with the timing. We're trying to move it very quickly. So those guys may have more of a bigger crew than we do, and we might be able to get it done a little quicker. So Tom and I, we've already called Snyder to start trying to get some quotes for them so we can keep this moving. So what we would like the board to do is approve it contingent upon Tom agreeing with the language to increase it from $15,000 to $75,000 in the contract.
Tim, have you?
Tim hasn't seen it.
I've not seen it.
No. We can run it by Tim too before we.
I think I will make that motion to approve the amendment, subject to review and certification by our attorney.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Next, we're on to reports. So, Mr. Linville, did you have anything to report? Mr. Ferrari?
No, I do.
Kim?
I think everyone has a copy of the report. Excuse me. There are copies of the summary sheets for the revenue and expenditures for the month of November. Revenue is just shy of 41%, which is the point we are in the budget year, and the expenditures are under that as well. The balance in the revenue account, $731. The R&R account is $132,458. It was noted that my staff forgot to transfer October and November contributions to the R&R fund. So that will be increased next time. I just didn't do those transfers. And hopefully we'll have the budget revision, the first one, for the January meeting. That's all I have.
We're gonna be able to put any more extra money in that R&R fund?
Yeah, we've tried the last few months, but then you don't really see it because they forgot the last 2 months to transfer it over. But we put an extra 2.5% in the last 2 months, I think.
We have any big things that want to come out of there?
No, not really a lot is budgeted.
Not
We
the
had, Brickside, that's look up there was
Brookside.
the most. And then we had some, I think, for Milford Street, but now that's gonna come out of ARPA. So we don't really.
So we should be able to build that out between now and June?
Any further discussion? Okay, Drew?
For the month of November, we have no violation report. Process treated approximately 211 million gallons of wastewater, received an additional 175,200 gallons of septic. We generated $10,231 in revenue from all sources. Been working with Anthony on trying to get the main raw pump VFD replaced. We got the go ahead from the DEP. So we're going to borrow money early off of phase 5 when it comes through. I talked to Ken today about getting money to buy it now, and then we'll replace it once the loan comes. So once I get the updated quote, I'm going to get back with Ken. I'm trying to find the money to pay for it for right now. I think it's going to be somewhere around $30,000, somewhere around there. We repaired the final drive-in alarm on the final number 1 and put it back in service last week. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Tim?
Good afternoon. Happy to report that the new tariff schedule went into effect on December 1st, official at the Public Service Commission. No protests from either any of our utility partners or the commission itself. And just a reminder, this tariff meets the revenue requirements that are we've calculated for the utility. Nothing more, nothing less. So happily, with Kim's good work, we were able to make sure that we didn't lose any revenue with regard to the adjustment that we had to make. So we're doing fine.
Good news.
Subject
Thank
to your
you.
questions, that concludes.
Thank you for all your work, everyone, on that. Mr. Farrell? Anything more? Anthony, anything more? Tom?
I think probably ought to report on the R&R account. We will probably need to have some funds because Johnny, and I think I'd mentioned this previously, had found some issues underneath of the bus garage downtown. And there is a sanitary line that's cracked underneath of there, and we've got to get somebody to come in. It's going to probably be $40,000 to $50,000 to fix that, and then we'll need a camera. The rest of that down through, there may be another issue down closer to Route 50, but we can't get to it to be able to tell yet. So just so you're aware, that's coming. And then also down at the old Eagle Glass plant, we have some issues there with some of the sanitary sewer being underneath of a building that may be a problem, but I'll report on that further later.
What kind of a situation is it? It's not an emergency situation right now as far as the bus garage?
The bus garage is not an emergency situation. It could become one really quickly, but it's not yet because it is underneath the floor. What happened is it started where the concrete pads were, water started coming up in between, and then that's where we found that there was a leak, and we were trying to get
So
that.
are you going to be able to get a proposal or estimate to bring to us?
We've gotten the three cost estimates, but we just are trying to work with the person who's the lowest bidder on that to be able to, because it is Snyder Environmental again, and if they can get down in and see what is wrong, they may be able to line the whole thing, and that would stop some of the costs. But they're the only person in this area that does that kind of work. So it may be something that we just need.
So when will that come before the sanitary board?
I'm sorry.
When will that come before the sanitary board?
Hopefully in January. I was hoping to have it this now, Frank, but we're just not there yet.
So we're going to waive competitive bidding, so then that would be, wouldn't that be considered an emergency? I mean, other than, because you don't want to go through 6 weeks of, specs and bidding and everything, so.
Well, that was one of the reasons I brought it up, so you're aware of it, and if it becomes an emergency, if it becomes something that
We'll
we
have to
see
call a
something
meeting.
that's actually falling in, then we're gonna have to make it an emergency. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Ash,
The only thing that I've got, we do have our MS4 annual report each end of the year. We have gathered information, our departments, finance, public works, got all that sent to Patricia Escarosa with Fraction Root. She's assisting with getting that
okay,
report filed, so other than that, that's all I have this year.
thank you. Maybe we'll attach that to the minutes if everybody's all right with that, so we can see it. Oh, great.
Nothing to report.
Can I have a motion and seconder to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Ashley, can you send those